everyone, welcome back to Howay the Herbivores. My name's Ellen. I make videos about vegan living, plant-based meals, mental health and travel, a little bit of travel and things like that. Today's video is going to be inspired by the new movie Ladybird by Greta Gerwig, starring Saoirse Ronan. I went to see it at the Tyneside Cinema, which is our local independent indie cinema in Newcastle, on Tuesday, and I absolutely loved it. It was exactly the kind of film I probably would have needed back in the day. A little bit of context, it's about a 17 turning 18-year-old girl played by Saoirse Ronan who is trying to decide whether she's going to go to college, and she wants to go to the East Coast, but her family can't afford to send her there, and she's kind of trying to struggle with the pressures of puberty and also adulthood and things like that, and a lot of it is to do with her relationship with her mother, which I think is really interesting. I thought when I was watching the film, I thought it would be really good to do a video about 17 things that I would like to say to my 17-year-old self. So it's kind of good that I'm in this setting, because if you watch my previous videos you may know that myself and Craig have moved into my parents' house, and this is my old bedroom that I'm filming in, and hence the wallpaper was my like 14-year-old choice or something like that, so it seems pretty good that we're in this location today. So yeah, I've got them written down, so I'm going to start going through my 17 things, and if there's anything that you agree with or you feel like you would like to say to your 17-year-old self, then please comment below, because I'd love to hear what you have to say. Okay, so I'm now 26 years old, so this is going back 9 years. In that time I've been to university, I've started a professional career, I've met Craig, we moved out and lived in some rented accommodation, and now I'm back at my parents' house, so we're just trying to save up at the moment, and I think it's just the perfect time to do this, and I'm really so heavily inspired by Ladybird because it was such a fantastic film, and I would recommend it to anybody who loves coming of age dramas and comedy and just anything like that with a strong kind of female lead. It was really, really good. Number one is Things Will Get Better, and by this I just mean that looking back on that age, I think it was really tough for me. I did find, when moving into this room, I did find a diary, which was my diary which I was writing around the age of 16, 17, and it was just so sad. I was just so down and sad, and I think if I could just go back and tell myself at that age, like, things will be okay. You will move out, you will meet someone, you will meet friends who you have things in common with and stuff like that, and I think it's just a really... If I could just tell my 17-year-old self in complete confidence and with complete surety that things will get better, which they have, I think that would have really helped me at that age. So the second thing is that things will get worse, but you will get stronger. I'm not going to say that everything that happened between 17 and 26 was a massive upward curve of positivity. In the last month, I've been made redundant from my job, and I'm now living at my parents' house. You know, other things have gone on in my personal life, and I think I'm definitely not in the, you know, best place that I've ever been. That's not mentally, that's just like circumstantially. So I think it's really important that I tell my younger self that things do get worse, but when things are worse, you're only getting stronger because of it. Okay, my third point is you will meet people who will like and maybe even love you for who you are, and then I've put in brackets weirdness and all. So I suppose going through school and sixth form, I didn't really have a massive friendship group. I've never been the most sociable of people. It's not that I'm antisocial, it's just that I'm textbook introvert, and I always like to have a small group of people around me who I get on with much better than a large group of people who I only know as acquaintances. I think it's just in my nature. I never really, there were connections that I made as a child and also as a teenager, but now I'm in a place where I've met people who are just as weird as me, and people like Craig, and who just love me and I love them, and they are just, you know, when I felt like I was a lost soul floating through space, age 17, little did I know that there were several other lost souls floating through space. And now I feel like we've come together and we've got friends and we've got relationships and things like that which are comparable to that, and we all kind of see on the same level, which is really nice, because I think when I was younger I kind of thought that I was the only person who thought in the weird way that I do, so it's really nice to have that comfort now, and I think that's something that I would like to tell my younger self. Okay, number 4 is be confident in your body. I have always had like ridiculous self-confidence issues. I always hated my body. When I was younger I was a huge tomboy, so I dressed mostly in boys' clothes until I was about 16, and then kind of realised that if I wanted to speak to anyone of the opposite sex I was going to have to not wear Gap baggy jeans and hoodies, so I started dressing a little bit different. But even then I was always trying to just fit a version of myself that I kind of wanted to be, or that I saw other people as. and I think a lot of it came down to just a complete lack of body confidence. This is something that I'm definitely not there with, because it's just really, really difficult. If you are young now, I think you're in a very fortunate position because there are a lot of body positive people on social media, but also in a negative position because there is a huge amount of retouching in the Instagram and online communities. When I was younger, you could buy a magazine and you would see lots of retouch models and things like that, and you know, maybe you wouldn't think that they were retouched. But now you can get apps on your phone that you can use to retouch yourself, so I could take a selfie and retouch it, you know, clear my skin or something like that. And I just think that's completely mad. I just can't believe that that's a thing. So yeah, be more confident in your body. The fifth thing that I would like to tell my younger self is find a form of exercise that you don't hate or potentially love. So I never ever ever liked exercise. I used to dread PE. I did everything to get out of PE. Even now, sometimes I'll have nightmares about PE and I will wake up in the night and say to Craig, oh my god, I was in hockey in year 6 and my hands were going to drop off with the cold again. It's really just, I don't know why, it's just so traumatic for me. I've never been a physically strong person, a physically resilient person. Yeah, I definitely much preferred to be reading a book or something like that than outdoors, and outdoors was always where I was weakest in school. So I think that put me off from exercise for a long time. I did very little exercise through university. I joined the cheerleading squad, but I did very little actual training. It was more just the socials and the drinking, to be honest. And then when I got to, I think it was probably 24 was when I first started going to the gym, and Craig was very kind enough to show me how to lift weights, which was really good, and it was really fun, and it was just a form of exercise that I really enjoyed. And then by 25 we were kind of regularly squat, bench, dead kind of powerlifting style, which was awesome. But I ended up kind of pushing myself really a lot with that, and I was working full time and it became quite difficult, and then I incurred a couple of injuries, which is not to be you know, is to be expected from those kinds of sports anyway, because they can be really intense. So then I stopped going to the gym last year, and probably around summer of last year, just to try and sort out my mental health and to kind of take the pressure off, because what happened was I used to get really, really annoyed with myself if I couldn't go to the gym. And then when I couldn't go to the gym, I would be annoyed, and then I would be annoyed, and then I couldn't exercise, and I had no outlet, and it was just like, it was so stupid. So then in October, I finally plucked up the courage after 6 months of doing yoga with Adrian at home. That was the only exercise I was doing at that time. I will link Adrian below. I'm sure you know about her because she's like the most famous yoga YouTuber, but she's absolutely fantastic. I love her to bits. And I did that for 6 months at home, and then I finally put up the courage to attend a yoga class in Newcastle. Go to Happy Yoga in Newcastle, and it is amazing. I absolutely love it. I can't believe that it took me so many years to go to a yoga class, because if you told me at age 17 you'll be going to yoga classes, you'll be like, no you won't. You'll have no idea I have enough confidence to do that. Like, even I remember looking at it when I was about 23, 24, and I was so nervous and I just couldn't bear to go. And now I go several times a week. I've got a subscription membership and it's fantastic, and I just love it. So yeah, my advice would be to find exercise that you love, whether it would have been yoga or cycling or walking or something. Just try and do a bit of exercise, because it helps so much with my mental and physical health. Okay, number 6 is adulthood will treat you well. So my point of this is that I didn't have a bad childhood. You know, I grew up in Whitley Bay, which is a middle class suburb in the northeast of England. I always did pretty well, Christmases, birthdays, and I've got both my parents and I've got siblings, and everything is fine. It's always been my own mental health that has let me down, I guess. So the teenage years were tough for me mentally, and once I became an adult, it was still tough, but I think adulthood did treat me well, and I was able to find a job, and I became a lot more, I don't think I became extrovert, but I definitely became able to mix with people a lot easier and pretend to be an extrovert or fake extroversion in certain circumstances. And I was able to work in the service industry, in hospitality, which got my confidence up so much. And if I was 17, I would do that all over again. And if I encountered a 17-year-old now who suffered with self-confidence and antisocial kind of issues, I would definitely recommend that they go work in hospitality, because when you're faced with strangers making complaints, strangers giving compliments, strangers trying to get their order right every single day, it just pulls you out of your shell. It has to pull you out of your shell, and you're making money in the meantime, so that's got to be good, hasn't it? Number 7 is don't wish away your youth. So even though adulthood treats me well, I would never have recommended myself to wish away my youth. So at 17 I was constantly wanting to be older, and now I'm probably wanting to be younger. I always think 22 was probably my peak age. That was the age that I met Craig, so maybe that's probably something in there. But I loved being 22. I don't feel any different to being 22 now, to be honest. But it's just the idea that at 17 I don't want to think that. Wish that I was older, wish that I had a full-time job, wish that I had enough money to buy this, wish that I had a house, wish that I had a car, because really now, if I've learned anything from being made redundant at 26, moving in with my parents with no car and no job, is that actually things can be shit when you're an adult, things can be shit when you're younger, but it's what you make of it that's the difference. And you know, you can only get older, you can't get younger, so that's something that I would definitely say to my younger self, is that don't wish your youth away. Number 8 is let your hair down at university. So I went to university in Hull. It was absolutely amazing. I loved it. I would recommend anyone go to Hull. The people there are so good. The lecturers are so friendly. It was just absolutely amazing. I loved it. But I was still pretty uptight back then, and I didn't. I went out drinking, but you know, not to an extent that other people did. Like I said, I did the cheerleading squad, but I didn't put everything into that. I was so homesick. I came home every other weekend, and at some points every weekend. And in the last semester of my last year, I was barely at university. My mental health was really, really weak. I would go to my younger self and just say, you know, let yourself go to university. You know, stay there, make some proper friends, and really try to work on it, because that is what's been really hard for me. I think at uni, I just think you're just so young to live away from home. It's a tough one, and I know a lot of people who weren't even able to live away from home because they were just so nervous at that age. So yeah, going back, I think I would have taught myself to have a little bit more fun at uni. Number 9 is stand up for yourself. If you know me in person, you'll be thinking, no Ellen, you don't need to stand up for yourself even more. But I think it's more just the idea that stand up for yourself verbally and physically, emotionally, and also, you know, we all go through relationships and friendships where we kind of get walked all over. And I think there was plenty of those occasions for me. What I really wanted to say to my younger self is that you should need to stand up for yourself and not let people walk all over you, because you're better than that. Number 10, you're probably expecting to see this, but it's stop eating animals. So yeah, I went vegan at the age of 25. I've been vegan 1 year this month, which is March 2018. The next video we're going to film will be with myself and Craig, and it will be a 1 year vegan video and a recap of what it's been like vegan for 1 year. I'm so excited about doing that. Yeah, as everyone who goes vegan will say, all they wish is that they went vegan earlier, because when you first go vegan, a lot of the time you will look back and you will think, oh my god, all those animals that died because of me, and all that torture and mistreatment that went on because of me, and it's really, really hard to cope with being a new vegan and all the things that you did unwittingly. And I think, you know, of course I would never not, if I given the chance, of course I would say to my 17-year-old self, go watch Cowspiracy, go watch Forks Over Knives, and stop eating animals. And I think probably would have, to be honest. Okay, number 11, I've got smile more, brackets, resting bitch face. So although I'm smiling right now, I've always found smiling to be really hard. I think it was only about the age 18, 19 when I was able to smile for a picture. I never could do like a toothy grin. I never was able to kind of be happy in a photo. Not because I wasn't happy, but just because my face didn't do that. And I think a lot of people maybe took a negative perception of me based on like my kind of resting bitch face. So I suppose I would hope that 17-year-old me could maybe cheer up a little bit and smile a bit more and make a better impression when they first meet people, because I think when I was working in hospitality that probably did let me down a little bit, although they did still put me on the till all the time, so there must have been something about my face that helped customers, and it definitely wasn't my smile. 12 is you don't have to fit a certain genre. So when I was younger, I've always been a fan of categorising people and getting categorised myself, and I think that's probably why I'm so interested in the Myers-Briggs personality test, because it's always nice to be able to categorise people like, oh, she's such an ISFJ, she's such an ENTP. Like, it's just something that I like to do, and I know that it's kind of a pseudoscience, it's total pop culture, like it's not, people cannot be categorised into 16 different boxes, it's just not possible. And I think when I was younger, I always kind of thought, well, you had to be an emo, or you had to be a chava, or you had to be a skater, and now I realise that if I want to wear a skirt and a jumper one day, but then the next day I want to wear baggy jeans, and then the next day I want to wear all black, and then the next day I want to wear pink. Like, not that I wear much pink, but you know, it doesn't really matter the clothes that you wear and the way you style your hair and the makeup that you wear. Sometimes I want to wear eyeliner, sometimes I want to wear no makeup at all. And recently, as you'll know if you watch my video about confidence without makeup, I've not been wearing much makeup at all. So that's just what I felt like at the time, and I think really I just need to go with the flow and just pick the clothes that I like to wear and wear the makeup that I like to wear. And if you want to be more dark and alternative on one day, and then you want to be more sportswear and you know, the next day, who cares? Like, there's no such thing as genre. You don't have to fit into one if you don't want to. Number 13 is spend more time with animals. So even though I am vegan now, when I was younger I was never a massive fan of animals. I was always quite hesitant around dogs. I never liked dogs that jumped up. I always liked to look at like rabbits and guinea pigs and stuff, but never liked to touch them. As soon as I went vegan, that just like flipped in my mind, and I just became a massive animal like lover. So now I will fuss over any dog that come near me. I love birds, I love like even like little pigeons in the street, cats. I always hated cats, and now I love cats. And I think it's just that now that I'm not eating animals anymore, I think maybe I've given my permission to love them. I don't know. Yeah, I think I wanted to spend more time with animals, whether it's people or family members' dogs, or whether it's, you know, stopping to stroke a cat in the street. I would really like to have done that when I was younger, because do it now, and I think it would have really helped me make that connection with animals at the time. Number 14 is practice gratitude. So you will hear me harping on about this all the time, and it's something that I mentioned in my recent blog post, which I'll link below on howaytheherbivores.co.uk. The blog post was about self-care when things are tough, so it was about what I do to look after myself when times are difficult. For example, having just lost my job and having just moved in with my parents and things like that, and how I am trying to look after myself and trying to maintain a kind of structure in my life when I kind of feel like I am floating through time a little bit. One of the things that I like to do is practice gratitude. So instead of trying to, you know, practice envy and thinking about what I don't have and what other people have got, then I always try to think about what I do have and what is going on in the world and what the weather's like and what, you know, all these types of things. And I think yoga helps this a lot, because it is kind of part of the yoga structure and part of the mindfulness meditation exercises. But yeah, I wish I could practice gratitude, because in the last 12 months I've discovered that, and that really, really does help. Number 15 is probably advice I could give to myself today, never mind 17 years old. But it's be still, brackets, boredom isn't a bad thing. The point that I'm trying to make here is that it's okay to just sit and do nothing, and it's okay to be bored, which is just crazy to me because I'm such a busybody. I never ever stop. You know, I've been still now for a month. I've been out of work, and it's so bizarre to me to not be going to work, and I've always gone to work. I've had a job since I was 17 years old, and when I wasn't doing my job I was at sixth form, then I was at university, and then I got a job straight out of university while I did my masters, and then I got a full-time job after that, and I've never been out of work. So this is actually the longest I've ever not worked for, which is absolutely crazy. But it's another thing to say, get as much done as you can in a certain amount of time, work and you know, YouTube and blogging and stuff, but at the same time I think it's really important to just be still. And whether you meditate or whether you just kind of exist in the time, it's just something that really helps as well. So that's another thing I would say to myself: take your time, be still, and just don't rush everywhere. Number 16 is be nice to your family. So I was never like a ridiculously, hopefully my parents would vouch for me on this, but I was never a brattish teenager. I definitely had my hormonal streaks, and I definitely had my rows, but I wasn't a nightmare. And if I had a child that went on the same way I did, I think I would probably be okay with it. But at the same time, you know, I feel like I could always be nicer to family, and not just direct family but wider family. Lost my grandma last year, and I still think about her all the time, and we only really reconnected in the last 4 years of her life, thanks to Craig bringing us back together. So I really think if I was 17 now, I would go back and I would say go and see grandma and granddad, you know, spend more time with you know, your nephews and your cousins and things like that, because time is limited and people grow up and people grow old and people die, and it's really important that we spend time with the people that we love. And finally, number 17 is cheesy and totally cliche, but it is: you are fine just the way you are. And I think it just encapsulates everything that I've tried to say here in this video, and it's just kind of saying that actually you don't need to struggle to be a certain type of person, you don't need to struggle to work and earn more money and buy more stuff, and you know, just look at yourself in the mirror and hate yourself and get a new haircut and meet a new boy and make new friends and be considered this type of person over that type of person, because really you're just fine how you are. And if I had learnt that at 17 rather than 22. I think I will be probably a little bit further ahead now. But yeah, so thank you for watching this video. Hopefully it wasn't too boring or rambly. Hopefully I'll be able to edit it down a little bit. And please go and see Ladybird at the cinema. It's still on for a few weeks and it's absolutely fantastic. Honestly, I cannot say enough how much I loved it. So I'll link the IMDb below if you want to read about it. I'm pretty sure it's got a great rating on Rotten Tomatoes, so I do agree with the critics on it. It's a fantastic film and very well acted by Saoirse Ronan. I really hope it picks up some awards because it would just be amazing for it to be recognised, for, you know, a female filmmaker to be recognised for making a film about female puberty and what it's like to grow up at that age in the early 2000s. So yeah, thank you very much for watching and I'll be back soon. Thanks, bye!